Hi there, Ansu here. I wanted to share with you in this video a little bit of the behind the scenes in an artist's life and studio. Now, sometimes the art that we make works, other times it doesn't work. Sometimes it's a smooth process, other times it's like pulling teeth. And I haven't been painting for quite some time, so uh, despite that fact, I really have this big desire in my heart to get back to canvas painting and making my own art. And I feel really strongly about God calling me closer to His heart in the process as well. And while I'm busy working on Camp Creative, which is the latest devotional study, I also wanted to make some art. And just having a little afternoon after I've been sick for a couple of weeks, just to get back into the studio and the swing of things, this was a little warm up for me. So this is my latest little, one of my latest little artworks. I call her Sweetheart. And she's got a piece of pattern paper that you can color and personalize, and she's got a couple of elements with hearts, flowers, and this little girl. And I wanted to keep things very simple, so I created the background just using my palette knife, and it is a silicone palette knife, and I just added the paint to the background and worked in different directions. So that's tip number one. When you want to quickly fill up a background with paint and color, just work in different directions. Don't just work in one direction. It creates interesting texture in the background despite the fact that you're using solid color. Right, I chose three colors that matches with the new Malia collection. So I have the four new paint colors that I shared with you in my previous video. And then I wanted to share with you just a little find that I had in a local shop here. Is basically a ceramic egg holder. And I thought that this would make a wonderful paint palette, because I could place down my brushes without it touching my paint. And I think that's kind of the most wonderful aspect of it, but also the fact that it's kind of deep little little mini bowls that I can place my paint in, and I can add as much water as I want. Now the next tip that I wanted to give you is I covered and added my girl. I glued her down with gel medium, and it's a clear gel medium, which means that it basically seals the paper. So whether you're using a good quality paper or just copy paper, you're sealing that paper and it will be able to take the art product. Then, say for instance, you start with a face as you saw me do here earlier, and you make a mistake. You're not happy with your layering. Then, because you are working on that art surface that was prepped and there's little movement allowed there, you can basically wash away your mistake and start again, which is what I did. But I did that for your benefit. So when I do the face on top of a lined artwork, then I like to kind of work with washes. So I wet down the paint a little bit, because the Americana paint that I use is an excellent quality paint. But I do feel like sometimes I need a couple of layers, and if you wash it down, it works like watercolor. It's really sheer and see-through, so you can see the lines underneath, and that's great for this kind of project, that I can just later on bring those lines back with a black pen. And so what I also wanted to share with you, another tip. So tip number 2 was you can wash away your mistake if you work on the gel medium surface. Then tip number 3 is, if you work with acrylic paints, then a great idea is to choose a color. So for instance, for the background of her hair, and you use 2 lighter shades of that same color, or try 3 different colors. So always work with threes, and that creates depth in your artwork. So tip number 3 is rules of 3. Right, so either 3 shades or 3 different colors that kind of matches, or even is contrasting. That could be creating a great interest on your artwork as well. Then I'm basically just filling in all of the little art spots, so working with the flowers, and to make sure that I replicate those florals in the same way, I use one color and then add it to all of the flowers, and then move on to the next color and then add it to all of the flowers, and so on. And I'm basically working from the background upwards, so think in terms of layers. That's another tip. So where you place your focus and your brain at that point is important, and I always leave the detail for last. That's kind of the top layer. Alright, so now we're just working to filling in things, and when it comes to my leaves, I chose basically one color, and that's my background color, and just added some white paint and just made it a lighter shade so that it feels like those leaves are also popping. And then I discovered, I thought that I covered all of my leaves, but I didn't. Some of them I didn't really fill in both of the shades, and that's okay. In the end, when I add the pen, you won't even see that, and the fact that some white shines through gives a little dimension as well. So even if you do forget to color in literally every little piece, it's not the end of the world. You can always go back and fill it in. Like with the hair, I found a little piece just above her eyebrow that I forgot, and I filled that in later on. So this is also kind of a test for your memory, because you have to and that's the thing with art. Sorry, my voice is just not great yet. The thing with art is you have to practice things on a regular basis. Your brain starts to remember the brush strokes and the way that you do things, and then it becomes easier. So warming up again like this is a great exercise then for canvas painting and moving into making art that you want to either put on a wall or sell or give away to someone. Now, I don't pretend to think that my art is that great, but I start somewhere, and that's the beginning of making art, is just to start and just play and do some art, do some doodles. Now, another one or another tip that I want to talk about is the fact that I don't really worry about doing fancy transfers with my paper art. I just add it to the page with my gel medium, and then I blend it into the background, either using white paint to kind of soften lines, or I use color paint. Like in this one, I'm gonna just blend away those harsh white lines so that the artwork feels like it's blending into the background. So you don't always have to do or choose the messy way of transferring. That's kind of complicated, and I feel like rubbing off all of that paper is just time wasted for me. So I think about transfers for dummies or for lazy girls like me who just want to get to make the art. I don't want to sit there and mess it up. The chances that I'm going to mess it up is great anyway. So just keeping things simple, I think, is the tip that I would like to give, is just glue it down. You can even just use your glue stick and glue everything down. Make sure you adhere up to the edges, and you would see me, if you rewind and you look at the beginning, that I actually did take my brush and kind of push the gel medium underneath the little edges that wasn't really adhering properly, and that's just my process. So just making sure everything is glued down nicely, and that's it. And then using your paintbrush, you can just blend in that artwork into the background. Now I'm using this wonderful gold color. It's actually not gold, it's just a color. So there's no metallic paint in it, but it is a wonderful rich golden yellow, and I really love this color. I think I'm gonna use it a lot in future. And then what I did was I used my Dala acrylic metallic paint, gold paint, just to bring in those gold touches that makes this artwork just pop on the page, and the word illumination or illuminate just was resonating in my spirit. I was listening to a song and it was saying, illuminate my heart with your light, and just creating a little prayer page and just worshiping the Lord, saying or praying for his illumination of my heart, just bringing his light into my heart so that I can see the things that I'm supposed to see and know the things that I'm supposed to know. And then I had such a wonderful time spending 2 hours sitting with the Lord, with music playing in the background, worship music, and just contemplating the things that the Holy Spirit was speaking to my heart through the worship music. And once I get into that groove, then my art starts to flow. So I hope that I'll be able to do more of these artworks in the coming months. That's really my heart's desire, to get back to art, while I'm also doing other things like Camp Creative, where we do focus on Bible study more than just making art. I've been sick, so I haven't been able to really give it my all yet, but we will play catch up in the coming weeks, and I hope that you will stay tuned and play along with us and study the word along with us. If you're interested in Camp Creative, you can give me a shout, and then we can make a plan to get you in and get you set up. And at this point, I am just catching up with the girls via email and chatting with them, just making sure that they know what's going on and where to access things. The website was down for a bit over the weekend for some practical reason that I don't understand, and I just had to republish my website, and everything fell into place again. So the website is fine, the store is up and running, and the new kits are available, so you can check that out. What you see me do here is just I just went with the flow, and then the flow wasn't flowing, and I didn't really like adding all of that black to my artwork, and I decided to just paint over it. And that's another thing that I want to suggest, that if you make a mistake, the acrylic paint that I use, the Americana paint, is just wonderful, and it covers really well. And you can start with, if you have like a really black mistake, use the white paint, which is very opaque and it covers really nicely, and just give it a couple of layers, dry it in between, and then use the color paint that you wanted to bring to the forefront. So in the end, you don't see me on the video doing that, but I did spend some time just covering the mistake. Well, not really a mistake, just a choice that I just wanted to change. And even though it's fine, I wanted the nice stripes coming back, and I just covered it again. So I hope that you enjoyed this little process with me, just a little warmer to get you in the mood to make some art. See you in the next one.